I have finally played a Persona game for the first time ever, and you know what? Persona 3 Reload became one of my favorites of all time, and it's most likely going to be my game of the year for 2024. Might be a bold statement considering April, but honestly, I can see any game being as emotionally intense as this one was. So I wanted to make this video to share all my thoughts about this incredible game in hopes to reach out to people like me that are new to Persona, but also to longtime fans, cause I think they get curious about how newcomers feel about a series they cherish so much. And I would love to convince more people to get into this series, or at least try this game out. And in case you're currently playing this game for the first time, this video will contain spoilers up until September. Anything past October will have a spoiler warning with a timestamp to skip to if you desire. But hey, you probably don't know me, because I never did this kind of video before. My name is Victor, I'm Brazilian, so pardon my weird accent and my lifeless voice. That's unrelated to being Brazilian, that's just how my voice sounds like. If you care to look at my channel before clicking this video, you'll see mostly Dark Souls speedrunning content, but I've wanted to branch out for a while now. In the past, I used to say I'm no stranger to RPGs. Honestly, I thought that I always liked them, until I actually stopped to think about which games of that genre I've played in the past, and well, there was only Pokemon. I felt like I should somehow fix that mistake, so I started looking into other RPG series. I've tried Shin Megami Tensei 4 for my 3DS, and it didn't go so well. But I also had its spin-off series, Persona, on my radar, much influenced by its incredible visuals and catchy soundtrack. I still listen to Persona 5's OST on a regular basis, even though I've never played that game. Although there was one thing worth mentioning that kept me away from the series, and I would assume that applies to other people as well. Atlas' shady business practice of selling multiple versions of the same game with crazy prices and barely any benefit. Do I think this game's worth $70? Yeah, I would say so. But is it its DLC that's basically just cut content from the second version of the game worth half the price of the base game that is already more expensive than the standard price practice in the market? Well, that's a hard sell. In the fact that people that got the most expensive versions of the game don't even have access to that makes it even a harder sell. However, I should mention that I haven't bought this game. I've played this on Xbox Game Pass, and if you don't care much about owning your digital copies of games, I would say it's worth subscribing for a month or two just for this game alone. And you could wait until September to play Episode Aegis as well, as it's also going to be available on Game Pass. If this video would have come out like a month or two earlier, the answer wouldn't have been mentioned at all, since I didn't even know that was a thing. It could have been a video all about praising this game, but this business practice is off-putting to say the least. And the craziest thing is, I might buy this game on Steam on September to play it again with the full version. Yes, I am stupid, but that's how much I love this game. I rarely get to play new titles on release because games are usually quite expensive here in Brazil, especially AAAs, so playing Persona 3 Reload felt extra special. And after I reached the credits, I had one question stuck in my mind. Why the fuck do I want to cry? But let's start from the beginning. In Persona 3 Reload, we play as an orphan that is moving to another city to attend his new high school. On our way to the dorm, we see the whole world getting dark and green as midnight approaches. There is blood everywhere and people are coffins now. We hurry to our dorm and meet this weird kid, sign a contract, get threatened by this cute girl, and get saved by the love of my life. Yukari, the girl with what it seems to be a gun, show us to our room and then take us to school the next morning. This starting phase works like a tutorial about what can be done outside of combat in the game. When we meet Yukari at school, we are introduced to social skills, as we learn that having insufficient social skills may limit our dialogue options, but will also prevent us from accessing certain locations and delay access to special cutscenes. We also get a glimpse of many characters with social links as we walk around town after school time, including future party members as well. High school bullshit is one of my guilty pleasures, so I have to say I was sold immediately on the game by then. The game as a whole feel and look a lot like an anime, with not only the slice of life stuff at high school, but with the usual tropes of this media, to the point of even having the infamous beach episode. After a few days of getting used to school, our dorm is attacked by a giant evil being called a shadow. That's when we first awaken our persona, not only to fight for our lives, but to also protect our teammate. Later, we are told what the shadows are all about. They only appear during the dark hour, a time between midnight and 1 AM. Only certain people remain awake during the dark hour. They don't turn into weird coffins, but most of them lose all memory of what happened during said time. The dark hour is also suspect of being at the root of this growing illness in town, the apathy syndrome. People that are inflicted with it are unable to do basic activities, even needing to sustain themselves without the aid of others. Amongst those that are awake during the dark hour, a select number of people can defend themselves by awakening their persona. And that's how we get this gun-looking tool, the Evoker, during our first fight at the dorm rooftop. Now, as an official persona user, we join SES, or Cs. I've heard some people call it like that before. A group formed to put an end to the dark hour. As we meet new teammates, they all start living at the Yuwatodai dorm, since this way it's going to be more convenient to go to Tartarus, which is what our school turns into during the dark hour. Tartarus is a huge tower filled with shadows to fight, so that's where most of the combat of the game will take place. It's divided into blocks, which are also divided into floors that change every night. Some important floors with special enemies or important story progression features won't change whatsoever. Since Akihiko was harmed at the attack of the dorm and Mitsuru will act as a navigator for the time being, our senior year teammates won't be able to join combat at first. Therefore, we are assigned as the party leader of Tartarus exploration and battling. The combat in this game is really fun and somewhat simple, at least a lot simpler than SMT4 as far as I remember. There are 3 types of physical attacks: strike, slash, and pierce damage. These can be inflicted with normal attacks from party members. It's also possible to use persona to attack enemies. They can use special moves that will cost HP for physical attacks or SP for magic attacks. In case you hit an enemy's weakness, they'll be knocked down, giving you the chance to hit one more time. After acquiring more party members, you unlock the shift ability to attack as another party member instead whenever you hit an enemy's weakness. That way, it's possible to keep chaining attacks until you get every enemy knocked down. When that happens, you can do an all-out attack, making every party member attack the enemies at once with no cost whatsoever for free big damage. The main complexity of the combat is the persona themselves, as you can use multiple of them and change in mid-battle, but your party members only have access to one. The main character's weaknesses depend on the last persona you used, so it makes planning essential as you don't want to stack the same weakness across multiple members of the party. You'll also want to keep track of the possible moves available to your teammates while managing SP and recovery item usage. There are 2 ways of acquiring new personas, or personae. First one through cards you select after finishing a fight with an all-out attack. When that happens, we enter shuffle time, where you can select cards for some bonus like money, experience, new attacks, and of course, new personas. Since there's a maximum amount you can bring with you, we can go to the Velvet Room, where Igor and Elizabeth will guide us through on how to fuse the personas we currently possess into new stronger creatures with different moves and weaknesses. Although, we can only fuse persona that are the same level or lower than ours. Personally, I didn't mess around too much with that system because it seemed too complicated and would most likely lead me to searching for help online, which I don't like doing for first playthroughs. So I stuck to Orpheus for 80% of the game. Look how buff he got endgame. At first, I thought the game was a bit too easy, at least for the initial floors in Tartarus, and I feel like it got a bit easier after getting access to Fuka, our navigator, and the Theurgy abilities. I guess that's on me for starting the game on normal, but the fights did tend to get more complex over time with special enemies, like the gatekeepers for example. They are found every 10 floors or so in Tartarus. They are sort of mini bosses that will block your path and are mandatory if you actually want to get to the next floor. These enemies have special weaknesses and a ton of health usually, and they tend to get harder as you ascend higher in Tartarus. But we also have the Monad doors. They come in two types. One is permanent, the other one is random. They are pretty similar to gatekeepers in terms of weakness and power, but they are all optional. They'll usually give you special loot like new outfits or stuff to craft better weapons. The ones in the permanent Monad doors relate us to Arcana cards you can select in shuffle time, giving special bonuses like increasing stats, leveling up, being able to select an extra card during shuffle time, among other stuff. And last but not least, the full moon bosses. Every month there's going to be a full moon. That's when a stronger shadow appears out of Tartarus and needs to be taken down. These are the most interesting fights as they have completely different moves, special weaknesses, a ton of health, and they usually look very fucking weird. These aren't optional whatsoever. Defeating the full moon shadows is the core of progressing through the story. When not fighting these special bosses, we'll be battling normal shadows to grind for levels and item drops, and these encounters can feel a bit repetitive. JRPGs are often criticized by their grindy nature, and that's understandable. Luckily, Atlas figured something out, making the visuals a lot more appealing, give a sense of freshness, no matter how far into the game we are. The vibrant colors and the predominant shades of blue in Persona 3 Reload are very characteristic as they are present everywhere in the game. The opening, the menus, the transitions from time of the day, and from day to day as well. The menus are also displayed in a non-traditional manner, which makes things confusing at first, but you get used to them fairly quickly. The level of visual design in Persona series is unparalleled, and Persona 3 Reload stands tall as a great example. In combat, whenever we try to use a Persona attack, the selected character will have its silhouette in the particular shade of blue this game loves. If you change the outfit on that character, the silhouette also changes a little bit, making a perfect match. The little details always amaze me throughout the whole game. The visuals were so great that there wasn't a day I couldn't watch the animated opening to get in the mood before continuing my save. The incredible song that we hear during the opening also made a huge difference. In fact, all of the songs in this game are absolutely incredible, and I feel like I would be executed if I didn't take at least a few lines to give praise to this spectacular soundtrack. Persona 3 Reload made taking midterms and finals fun with this absolutely amazing track. After a few hours of the game, I was worried about the possibility of getting sick of these songs at some point, because as mentioned before, there's a lot of repetition in JRPGs, but every time I heard, I was ready to fight. Since the basic fights are usually shorter, these vocal themes don't get overdragged for too long. The developers were also smart enough to realize that these songs couldn't loop for too long without getting dull. So for longer fights we usually have other songs with less vocals and more guitars, a way to signalize a dangerous situation. But what makes Persona 3 Reload special enough to get invested in the story is by far the characters and how we relate to them, as the social aspects are essential to the plot and narrative. Even though not every character is pleasant, Most of them are fun and have some kind of problem that they need to figure out. These characters are related to a tarot card with an arcana type, and maxing out our relationship with them will grant us access to a new persona to fuse. For the female characters, we can actually start dating them, so we get different cutscenes. Also, it's possible to date multiple girls, but that sounds too much like an asshole move, so I didn't do that. I was faithful to Chihiro the whole game. Well, something happened between me and Elizabeth apparently, but I was a bit confused. Some characters require a certain level of social skill to talk to, the most notable being the female party members. Even though the male party members don't have a social link, they still have quests of their own indicated by 2 exclamation marks, and those would also grant access to stronger personas when fully completed. Which brings me to a point I should clarify right away. I've played the entirety of Persona 3 Reload with Japanese voices simply because this game looks and sounds way too Japanese to play it in English. The use of honorifics alone, like kun, san, chan, are so weird to hear in any other language. Besides, I've been studying Japanese for a couple of years of university now, so I figured it could be a great opportunity to put to use the little knowledge I have about the language. This is mostly a disclaimer on why my pronunciation of characters' names might sound a bit too weeb for the average civilian. I want to talk a little bit about some of the characters, mostly my favorites and the ones essential to the plot and narrative. Let's start with the party members. Yukari Takeba. She's pretty much the first character we meet. As every party member, she lives with us at the Iwata Dai dorm, and she's the one that shows us around the school. Apparently, she's incredibly popular too, as rumors start to spread rather quickly as we come to school together in the first day. She requires maximum charm just to talk to her after school. To me, Yukari is the most humane character in the game, since she's also the most flawed one. She's constantly doubting the real intentions of SCES, deflecting her own self-doubts or lack of confidence. Since she was one of my favorite characters throughout the whole game and a fixed member in my party, I was surprised to later know that she's quite hated within the fanbase. The moment of distress she plays during the beach episode was one of the best in the game, and one of the most memorable ones too. Junpei Yori. At first, I really fucking disliked him. He was the usual loud and flirty anime male protagonist, but as high schoolers usually do, he's also conflicted with doubt and unsure about his future. But my feelings started to change a lot as it got closer to a particular character that would be a spoiler. As we progress through the game, our party members will go through some sort of epiphany and reach a resolution, and Junpei's was one of the most beautiful ones. Mitsuru Kirijo. She pretty much owns the school since her dad's company, the Kirijo Group, built it. She's from the elite and she knows it, but I feel like that shows a lot more of the Japanese voices, as she uses a rather uncommon way of speaking for female characters. Even though we are called a leader in game, Mitsuru always felt like the real leader, as her personal story relates a lot more to the general plot of the game. Also, it pains me so much that I couldn't start her social link right at the start of the game, because she doesn't hang around with stupid people apparently. Next playthrough maybe. Akihiko Sanada. He's in the last year of high school, just like Mitsuru. They have been friends for a very long time and have spent years fighting shadows together alongside Shinjiro. He's very athletic and a talented boxer. While this makes him very popular with the ladies, he doesn't seem to have any talent approaching them. Shinjiro Aragaki. He's a super mysterious guy with such a deep voice that will make you think he's like 40 years old or something. But he's just as old as Akihiko and Mitsuru. My favorite thing about him is how he's crazy passionate about cooking, but tries to hide it to look tougher. I wish I could talk more about him, but since he plays an important role in a narrative twist on October, I feel like I probably can't. Ken Amada. He's the youngest party member, and the fact that everyone is chill about a 12-year-old going through life and death situations every month or so is mind-boggling to me. He has a very strong will will and a great motive to keep fighting. Unfortunately, that's also an October spoiler. Fuka Yamagishi. She's our navigator, so she'll usually give us info about the current floor we are in at Tartarus. If you manage to max out your courage, you'll get to try out her terrible cuisine. She looks and sounds incredibly frail, but she constantly wants to prove her self-worth, albeit in a different way compared to Yukari. She wants to help out everyone because she feels like she owes us back. It's worth mentioning that I don't really get the fan base's obsession over her. Don't get me wrong, I love the character of course, but the passion over her fascinates me, just as much as it confuses me.
The enemies returned to normal! To normal! Only one enemy left! Left! Look out! Look out! Okay. The enemy's weakness is electricity.
Koromaru. Later in the game, we start realizing that every party member goes through resolutions, except for Koromaru, and that's because he already ran through one before we get to meet him. He was a monk's dog and lived with him at the shrine, and after he passed, Koromaru remained at the shrine to protect his memories with his loved one. He already knows what he's fighting for, and that explains why he's the most determined party member. And you can make him wear a tuxedo. 10 out of 10 game. Now for the last party member, Aigis. She's a robot lady. At first, she seems a lot like a comedic relief, especially because we first meet her during the beach episode, where silliness and cringiness is through the roof. But she grows a lot as a character, as she is central to the storytelling in Persona 3 Reload, but I can only develop my argument on that in the spoiler section. Later in the game, we are introduced to these three very weird looking individuals. They call themselves Strega, and are all Persona users just like the SES members. They serve as antagonists to our party, and it's nice to say they aren't villains, they just want different things than us. The SES wants to end the Dark Hour so innocent people start getting affected by the shadows that escape from Tartarus, while Strega wants to preserve the Dark Hour in hopes to maintain their Persona powers. Even though they do some pretty evil shit at some point, it was nice to see some conflict that wasn't pure black and white. There is a little shade of grey there to keep ourselves doubting about our quest. Elizabeth. She hangs around at the Velvet Room entrance, so whatever we need to do with our persona, she's the one guiding us. But also, as we fill her request list, she'll give us some optional quests to show her around town. Since she's not from this world, she remains in all of everything, no matter what it is. She's just very silly in general and always made me laugh.
赤ペルソナ、青ペルソナ、黄ペルソナ、赤ペルソナ、青ペルソナ、黄ペルソナ。難しいですね。
Chihiro Fushimi. She's an adorable character and sort of a shoujo manga character. She's super shy to the point of being unable to talk to men no matter who or what their age. That does have a dark background on why she's like that, but I'll leave that to the player to find out. We meet her at the student council, of which Mitsuru is the president. Chihiro is crazy jealous about Kirijo, so she doesn't want us hanging around her too much. After she confessed, I feel like I would be heartbroken if I actually broke her heart. Does that make sense? But speaking of which, the love confessions are so high school. All the ones that I've seen were very heartwarming. Even though we became a couple, she would still refer to me super politely and was also super scared of showing her feelings. Classic shoujo character. Maya. We meet her in an online game that Junpei gives us. She has the funniest dialogue in the entire game, with stupidly broken grammar and orthography. At first, I thought this was going to lead to a not so surprising catfish plot twist at the end, but we get to know a lot about Maya as we rank up her social link. We learn that she already went through college, she already has a job, and she hates most of her co-workers. Spending time with the social link characters shows how time management is a key attribute in Persona 3 Reload. We'll get to do 2 activities per day, one during daytime, the other during nighttime, and some of these activities are exclusive according to the time of the day and day of the week. For example, you can only talk to Maya, our MMORPG companion, during Sundays, as we don't have to go to school and she doesn't have to go to work. Mutatsu is only available at night since we can only find him drinking his life away at the club escapade. Often, you'll find yourself having to make decisions on what you want to do the most. Do you want to hang out with your friends, do some level ups, increase your social skills? Well, that's up to you. My point is, among battling, socializing, and other optional stuff, there's a lot we can do in the game. But what if the game takes that freedom away from you? As Mitsuru usually reminds us, we should not let go of our duty as a high school student. What that means is that we have to study for exams and care about our future and stuff. When midterms and finals approach, you won't get the chance to go to Tartarus, because everyone else will be studying. Therefore, you might as well join them and get access to special cutscenes where you get to know your teammates better. These moments are usually funny or wholesome. But what if the game also used the same mechanics to hurt you instead? That's when I'll get into endgame spoilers from October all the way to March, so you can skip to the next section if you haven't played the game, and I would highly recommend doing so. October 4th marks a somber anniversary for Ken. That's the day his mother died, and it's on this day that he's planning to get revenge against her killer, Shinjiro. They were both interrupted by Takaya, a Strega member. In hopes to make significant damage to SES and the plans to end the Dark Hour, Takaya wants to get rid of our navigator. Ken lies, saying he's sad person, and offers himself as sacrifice. But Shinjiro, feeling that his life was close to its end, saves Ken from getting shot. And that was our first loss within SES. The following days are spent in mourning. We won't be able to go to Tartarus because all of our teammates will remain shocked by what happened. The members that were close related to Shinjiro will also find a greater resolve on why they remain fighting. What matters now is that no one is safe anymore. What once was a chill high school game became dangerous to the characters you learn how to love. Now every important mission will make us worried about what might happen next. The game blocks us from going to Tartarus in a similar manner again in December, after we realized the truth about the Dark Hour and the 12 shadows we had to defeat on full moons. The SES actions took a toll on mankind's fate. We have awakened Nyx, the bringer of death, and she can't be defeated. Once our party members recognize that, we lose purpose to our fight. And the worst part is that we are the ones that caused that. Even though some members like Yukari try to not act shaken by the recent turn of events, other members like Junpei go through an emotional breakdown. Our morale gets thrown into the ground, and for the following days, no one will feel the need nor the motivation to re-enter Tartarus. This makes the dread of the promised day feel a lot more real. For the first time, we feel like we cannot win. After all the information is given to the player, we are left with a choice. Do we give up on our memories together and live a few months as normal high schoolers? Or do we stand against death and the flow of time? By the day we have to decide, our teammates have reached an agreement amongst themselves. They want to keep fighting, and they want to remember everything. The last member that had to be convinced to fight was Aegis, as she goes through her own resolution. I've mentioned earlier that I had to talk more about her in the spoiler section because she had a central part in the narrative of this game. Aegis is a machine designed to defeat shadows and protect humans. No wonder her name is just a different spelling of Aegis, a word of Greek origin for shield. Aegis being a tool most commonly related to the Greek goddess Athena. Her name is spelled like that to preserve the appropriate phoneme in Japanese. But this also comes with a little twist. Ai is how we say love in Japanese, not only romantically but also amongst friends and family. And this is particularly fitting for Aegis, as she is the one character that learns how to become human. She was built to defend humans, and this is all that she has known for a long time. But as Aegis spends time with SES, she develops feelings for everyone in the party. She no longer protects us because she has a mission, she does so because she wishes so. All of these changes are also perceptible in her dialogue, as she changes the way she speaks significantly after reaching her resolution, reflecting how much she grew as a character. Unfortunately, it doesn't show as much in the English voice acting. However, in the Japanese dubbing, it is far more noticeable, as she often used the structures only found in written tests that completely disappear later in the game. It's possible to see her attempting to make jokes and successfully using metaphors. When she joins us at school, every time we talk to her, we get the prompt. She's still far from passing as a human. It doesn't look like she understands ordinary feelings and conversation yet. If she could, I might be able to form a bond with her. When you get access to her social link, Eon, we can finally form a bond with Aegis, meaning she has finally become human. The pinnacle of Aegis' evolution is during the final cutscene of the game, as she asks us to rest and close our eyes because we look tired. She wants to hide the fact that she is worried, but her tears tell us the truth. She knew our journey in this world was coming to an end, and she wanted to ease us into it. And that's what makes us humans. Not only the fact that we communicate and socialize, but also the fact that our time is limited. We can't always freely choose what to do in said time, and that is also visible in the last fight of the game. Similar to how we get prevented from going to Tartarus, the game hinders us from doing anything but our common attack, until we get the option to sacrifice ourselves to save the memories we've developed with our social links. I feel like I could just make a Steam review that says 10 out of 10, 2 sobbing emojis, Aegis best girl to sum up my feelings. And every single thing in the review would be true. Every single thing. But I wouldn't feel any contentment doing that. A game that made me cry and it was hard to say goodbye to, even though I spent 107 hours just to roll credits, deserves more than 3 lines, a thumbs up, and a hollow rating. After finishing this game, the maxing I and thou, thou are I felt like it had a completely different meaning to me. I and thou, as we are the ones playing the story, we are the ones creating the memories with all the characters in this game through the voiceless protagonist. But the thou art I felt like the memories we built together calling back. Our memories are what makes us individuals. They are the reasons we do what we do and are who we are. But at the same time they give us individuality, they also have to be built collectively. What I mean by this crazy talk is that I and thou, thou are I, are sentences that can't be broken apart. They work together for the same purpose. We developed memories and they shape us back. Persona 3 Reload is a game about memories, and I want to crystallize mine in a different way this time, and I'll cherish the memories I had with this game forever. Man, I can't believe I'm finally done editing this video. Turns out looking at over 100 hours of footage took a lot longer than I thought it would. But anyways, if you got to this point, thank you for watching. This is my first video ever with like more intricate editing and stuff. And I need to thank some people that helped me throughout the whole process, especially BSD. He helped me a lot with the script, and if this video doesn't sound too gringo, that's all because of him. So thank you a lot, man. And I also need to thank June. She's the one that introduced me to Persona. She's a big fan of the series. She told me about this remake and when it was going to be released, so if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have played this game, and I really loved my time with this game, so I need to thank her for that. So thank you, June. But also I need to thank everyone that stuck around during my streams of this game. All the footage from this video were from my streams, so that's why you'll see like some messages on the side of the screen sometimes, and these are all the people that hang around with me during my playthrough, and that was a lot of fun, like sharing moments with everyone. So thank you everyone that stuck around. In the case you want to follow me there, it's like the same nickname that I have here on YouTube, Vic_Tortuga. Unfortunately I can't keep up like making videos all the time. I plan on making one per month. I'm not sure how that's going to work with uni going on and stuff, but if everything goes according to plan, by the end of May I should have a video on Dark Souls 2 10th anniversary. So hopefully you get to see me again on your timeline in the near future, but until then, thank you for watching this video.